Coffee Monday is more than a podcast. It's a movement to reshape the way we approach Mondays and the week ahead. It's about embracing the reality that work doesn't have to dominate our lives. It's about finding that sweet spot where passion, purpose, and a cup of motivation connect. Filmed and recorded in California's Central Valley, join me, your host, Ray Pardini-Matson, as I invite thriving professionals to share their stories of how they're crafting a life that's both vibrant and balanced.
She's a dentist, a world traveler, a philanthropist, a mom doing it all with heart and hustle. On this episode of Coffee Monday, I sit down with Dr. Melissa Ngo Logan, the powerhouse behind Ngo Borders Non-Profit. We talk about her incredible journey providing dental care across 17 countries and counting, alongside her equally passionate dentist siblings. Known for her work in private practices, correctional facilities, Army National Guard bases, and underserved communities around the world, Dr. Logan shares how her diverse career has shaped her mission to serve others, one smile at a time. We dive into the challenges and triumphs of international dental missions and the stories that stay with her. With 2 young children and a supportive husband by her side, Dr. Logan balances a life of service with the joys of family and adventure, often swapping scrubs for swimsuits as they travel the world together. This episode is a must-listen for anyone who's ever dreamed of using their skills to make a global impact while keeping family at the center of it all. Now grab your coffee and let's get into it.
So you're starting a new job. That's so exciting. Tell me more.
It's Fresno City College. I'll be adjunct faculty at the dental hygiene school. Amazing. So I'll be supervising in the clinic. It's my first teaching position. I'm so excited. I've always wanted to teach just part-time here and there, and I finally got the opportunity, and I start next week.
That's so great. So what are you going to be teaching? I mean, for the dental, you said the dental hygiene?
Yes, for the dental hygiene school. Okay. So I'll be making sure that teeth are being cleaned correctly in the right way. And
I love it.
I'm not really sure exactly, but I'm just there to help, do what I can.
I love your positive spirit. I love that you're always open to try new things. I feel like sometimes trying new things is scary, Yeah. But we've known each other now for a few years, have tons of mutual friends. Our paths have crossed through moms groups and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And I didn't really get to know more about your nonprofit, Ngo Borders, until, we started following each other on Instagram, and I would see these extravagant, amazing, I shouldn't say extravagant, long travels
yes.
to far places. Mm-hmm. And you're bringing your daughter, who is now a little over a year, but at the time, was probably just under a year, right?
Mm-hmm. She was 12 months.
Yeah. So I just feel like there's so much about you that I don't know, and I'm really excited to get to know more. And thank you for coming here and sharing your story with me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to share with you because there's so many layers that we don't get to talk to, on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
So
it's true. I know. Little snippets, right?
Yes.
Especially when the kids are around, we don't get to have any sort of long conversation.
Exactly.
So you have 2 beautiful children, a son and a daughter, 6 and a little over 1, right?
Yes.
And how did you make your way to Fresno? Because you're not originally from here, right?
No, I'm not.
Let's talk about that.
So we moved here for my husband Brody's job. He is the morning news anchor at KC24. Mm-hmm. And it's really interesting how we came here and when. We moved here in February 2020.
Oh,
it was
wow.
exactly 4 weeks before the initial lockdown.
Yes. I just got the chills.
Yes.
Wow.
And we didn't know. We knew one person in all of Fresno. We don't have any family here.
Yeah.
There weren't any, social connections. It was the job that brought us here. Mm-hmm. And the reason why we came here was because Brody switched from being a sports anchor to a news anchor, which is a huge deal within that industry. It's completely different.
Totally.
And so, he was... it was a big change, a big career change for him because he had been in sports for over 10 years prior to that.
Right.
Yeah, he had been in local networks at Fox and also ESPNU, and his life was sports.
Yeah.
And so it was a big change to go over to morning news, but it was the perfect timing because when the pandemic started, all the sports were canceled.
Right.
And
good
no one was
point.
reporting
Oh my
on
gosh,
news, on
chills.
sports. Yes.
And I mean, gosh, all the news coverage surrounding the pandemic. I mean, talk
Exactly.
about getting reps in like more traditional
Exactly.
news. There you go.
And
right?
history, right? Reporting on
Yes,
history. It was
yes,
incredible.
yes.
Yeah. So we moved here
Amazing.
just in time for, a huge career change at just the right moment too.
Amazing.
Yeah. So that's what brought
And
us
you
here.
you said you're originally from Florida, right?
Technically, I'm from Virginia.
Oh, wow.
The Washington, D.C. area. I always say that
love
with
it.
it because Virginia, is very big. I'm not from
Yeah.
the countryside. I'm from the city side.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 15 miles from Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was
Have you
born
talked
and
to Chris?
raised.
I'm sure you and Kristen have
Yes.
talked about all
Yeah,
this.
when we first met, we met in a parking lot and we're like, wait, you're from Virginia? So am I. Yeah. You never meet anyone from that exact town as well.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah,
And
so I was born and raised there.
Yeah, I love it.
And then after that, I moved to Florida for school. I did my undergrad and dental school in Florida. My
Amazing.
entire family moved down to Florida, and that's where I met Brody.
Oh,
Yeah, so both our families are there. That's where all of our holidays are. That's home.
I love that.
Yeah.
So you hopped over to the West Coast. Do they visit?
Yes, they do. They
I'm
visit
sure.
often, but
Yeah.
it's been there's been many stops along the way over to the west.
Yeah.
After Florida, we went to New York. I did my
Okay.
residency in New York City. Lived there for 4 years. After that, we moved to Austin, Texas. Then after that, we moved back. I moved back to DC. It was Brody's first time living in DC for 4 years. And after that, we moved to Denver, Colorado.
Oh my
And then from there, we came here.
So have you been practicing
Yeah.
in those areas? How does
Yes.
that work? Like, do you need to have a specific?
Yes, you have to have
I would
a
think
different
so.
state license in each. So I've held 5 different dental state licenses.
Wow,
Yes,
that's amazing.
it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work, a lot of paperwork, but
But good
Yes.
for you. That's
Yes.
unreal.
Yeah.
And you've said too, you've worked in like private practices and other types of all types, right?
I think I've worked in every different facet that dentistry can offer you.
Yeah.
It's been quite a journey, but it's exactly how I like it. I like trying new things. I think I only like to do new things.
I can tell. I get that energy. That's great.
So technically, I'm a general dentist. So that means I work with all ages. However, my current job, I only work in pediatric dental surgery. And so it's very specific right now. But it took me a while to get to where I am today. I've been practicing for 15 years.
Oh, wow.
That doesn't sound
No, it doesn't
real
sound
to
right.
me.
You're
but
like 21, so
yes,
it's fine.
exactly. So I'm a general dentist, but my very first job out of school was at my pediatric residency director's private office.
Oh, cool.
So I did a GPR, it's a general practice residency in New York at the Mount Sinai Hospital. When I graduated from that residency, he offered me a job. So I was like, yes, I would love that to be my first job. I already know you, and I'm a general dentist, but I'm comfortable working with kids.
Right.
And so I worked in that office for almost 4 years. So it was like doing my own private pediatric residency, hands-on with the residency director.
That's unreal.
Yeah, so
like
it was
what
really
an
special.
amazing experience.
I
and
learned
just hands-on
so much.
opportunity, mentorship sort of, right? Like
Exactly.
that's amazing.
I know.
love
I'm
that.
so grateful for the opportunity because
Yeah.
that ended up shaping my whole career.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the next step there?
So after that, Brody and I were already together at that time.
Yeah.
And we were just so tired of the grind of the city. Even going grocery shopping was so difficult.
I bet.
Lugging along your little cart on the subway. It was great for the first 4 years. I was living my dream of living in New York and being
Yeah.
a doctor and like doing whatever I wanted to do.
Doing it. Yeah.
Yes.
That's amazing.
But after a while, the weather wore on me, and the day to day was just not easy. I didn't bring my car there. Everything was the metro.
right.
And so we were both like, let's move to Austin, Texas.
Actually,
We were like,
that's the natural next step.
we were like,
Yeah.
we both just want to live there.
Which is such
experience
a
it.
cool spot.
It's
Yeah.
the coolest.
And even now, probably since you've lived there, it has just grown exponentially.
I remember when we moved there 10 years ago, it was the fastest growing city in America.
I believe it.
And so we moved there. People were saying it was over 100 new residents moving in per day. I'm not sure if that stat's correct, but it was something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and so we moved there, and I said to myself, I never want to leave.
Yeah.
And a year later, Brody got his opportunity in Washington, D.C. that we could not turn down.
Yeah.
So we left way too early. But
Yeah.
Austin is my favorite city in the U.S.
Wow. That's a bold statement coming from you because I feel like you're so well traveled.
Yeah. I mean, New York City is always going to have my heart.
Right.
And Washington, D.C. is, amazing.
Yes.
And Miami is also, an amazing city. But I love Austin.
So tell me why. Why Austin?
It feels like such a young, vibrant city. The culinary world there is, I would compare it to New York. Of course, it's not quite New York, but the restaurant scene there is,
I've heard like the arts, the music, the film.
Yes.
That was like sort of, lack of a better term, hipster spot to visit. And it was like up and coming.
Yes.
15 plus years ago. And now it's just like...
Yeah, for me, it was such a great mix of being a little country in a little city, but hip and young and interesting and fun.
Diverse.
Yes.
And lots to do.
Yes.
And yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So while I was there, I worked at Aloha Dental, which kind of matched my whole, beachy vibe, but it was so fun. I was working at a general office, and so I was seeing probably 75% of the kids that came in and some adults as well.
Okay.
And so I was still seeing a lot of kids, but I was back to seeing adults. It felt strange at first, but it's like riding a bike.
Yeah.
Just doing fillings and crowns and stuff. It was great. I loved working there.
Oh, great.
When I moved to Virginia, that's where I started to feel like a little bit of burnout starting. I was so kind of just tired of doing the day-to-day fillings and crowns. And that's when I started Googling, actually during that time, I think it was Craigslist, Craiglisting different jobs. Yeah. And that's where I've actually found so many great opportunities on Craigslist, but maybe not so much more now in 2025.
I love that. Oh my God, bringing me back. Craigslist. I love it.
And so that's where I found this company called Dentrust Dental. They have contracts with the U.S. Army National Guard and correctional facilities all across the U.S. They're based out of Pennsylvania, but they had a big operation going on in Virginia where I was looking for work at that time. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I won't get so burnt out doing this. This is so different. Let me see what this is about.
Right.
And I met up with the owner, and I was like, yeah, let's do this. He said it was mainly pulpotomies and extractions. So pulpotomies are like the first step of a root canal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you can split a root canal appointment into two.
Okay.
So it's the first appointment to get you out of pain. You clean up and you put medicine inside the tooth, pretty much.
Okay.
So
you said, how do you say it? Pulpotomies?
Yes,
and what did you
pulpotomy
say?
and extractions.
Extractions.
Yeah, so just pulling teeth.
Yep.
And I was like, I love pulling teeth. I got this. And so I started working in 3 different correctional facilities. 2 were at the county level and 1 was at a regional level. So nothing too crazy, but the crazy stuff does come in before they get transferred to federal or other maximum security situations.
Yeah, wow.
Saddle up for a night to remember. Mom's Time Out is back. Leave the daily grind in the dust and join us on Wednesday, May 7th at Evanel Vineyards for an unforgettable evening of food, fun, and fabulous company. Whether you're riding solo or rolling in with your crew, you're guaranteed to have a good time. Enjoy an open bar, delicious comfort food, dancing and exciting activities and photo-worthy moments. And in attending, you have the opportunity to support the Marjorie Mason Center, a local nonprofit serving local victims affected by domestic violence. The star of the evening, Jesse James Decker, will be here in California. The singer-songwriter, New York Times best-selling author, and founder of Kittenish and Just Feed Me will be joining us for a VIP meet and greet and to share her unfiltered mom truths on stage, complete with a live Q&A with our guests. Want the VIP experience? Sponsors get exclusive access to the Squeezed Juice VIP Lounge, where you'll meet Jessie up close and personal, take photos with her, and enjoy some premium VIP perks. To top it all off, line dancing and music will keep the party going. So grab your boots, round up your besties, and get ready for one wild ride. Tickets start at $2.99, which are all inclusive of all of the fun activities we just shared: open bar, yummy comfort food, fun activities and photo-worthy moments, and tons of surprises. And sponsorships are available now as well at mumsymedia.com or at mumsymedia on Instagram. Feel free to DM us or email us with questions. We'll see you there. Spring is in full swing, and Dutch Bros is serving up a spring fever dream, a lineup of epic drinks you don't want to miss. Craving something sweet? The birthday cake iced breve, also available as a freeze or shake, is a full-on celebration with cupcake flavors, a soft top, and birthday sprinks. Need an energy boost? The Poppin' Boba Hyper Chrome packs a punch, available as an energy drink or lemonade with bursting boba. And for the chocolate lovers out there, the brownie batter iced mocha, a freeze or a shake, is rich with dark chocolate goodness in that soft top and brownie pieces on top. These seasonal sips won't be here forever, so don't wait. For all the latest Dutch Bros drinks, follow at Dutch Bros Fresno on Instagram. Coffee cheers to spring vibes. Spring is in full bloom, and so are the San Joaquin Flower Collective's beloved flower pop-ups. Fresh, local blooms straight from our valley's flower farmers, ready to brighten your home, your day, your week. But here's the catch. These pop-ups are seasonal, and so are their blooms. You may have noticed the beautiful florals on some of our podcast episodes if you're watching on YouTube. Those florals are beautifully arranged by local floral designer Darcy Hovsepian of DH Floral, with blooms sourced from the collective. To find out when and where to snag your bouquet, whether you're a florist or just a flower lover, follow at SJ Flower Collective on Instagram for all the latest updates. Because nothing quite says spring like an armful of fresh flowers. I'll see you at the next pop-up.
Everyone always asks me, weren't you scared, or isn't that a scary
I know, I want to hear a
situation?
story, like a wild story. Do you have any wild stories?
Oh my goodness. Well, at the county level, most of the inmates that I saw, and I never asked.
Right. Yeah.
What are you in for? I never asked, but I knew that the majority were multiple DUIs and stuff like that. Nothing super crazy.
Yeah.
But every now and then I would have a patient come in handcuffs with a guard. But it surprisingly was one of the quote unquote easiest jobs I've had because the patients were so compliant.
I bet. And obviously probably so grateful. Right?
Patients were signing up because you sign up, you say, oh, my tooth hurts. And so you get on the list to come and see the dentist.
Yes.
And you wait till it's your turn. And my list was filling up pretty quickly.
Oh my God. They probably
they just wanted to get out and do something, right? And I'm nice. I'm not going to, I'm not yelling at my patients.
Yes.
But I'm not chit-chatting either. I'm not making it a fun experience.
Right.
And so I'm taking x-rays and I'm like, there's nothing going on. You're not in pain. You can go back to your cell. But there were, of course,
released.
But there were multiple patients that needed actual work done. I would tell them, okay, don't move. I'm going to give you your shot now. And they wouldn't move. Mm-hmm. Whereas when you're in office, you have patients that are very anxious, and of course they're flinching or this and that, and you have laughing gas, and you have different sedation options. But in the correctional facility, they're sitting there and they're not moving.
They're probably not fazed by the pain, right?
They are nervous. They are scared of the needle and getting their tooth pulled. I would have the biggest guys with tattoos, and they've been around a lot of things.
Yes.
And they're still I can see that they're nervous with the needle and with dentistry. It's funny. Sometimes the toughest looking patients are the ones that are the most scared.
Isn't that funny?
But no, it was great because the patients were very compliant.
Yeah.
And that's a big difference with seeing a pediatric private practice situation where kids, it's hard for them to sit still and be quiet.
Big difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so in that sense, that's what I mean by it was easy because my patients were so compliant. They would sit there and I would pull out their tooth and we'll be like, okay, 5 minutes later we're done and
Right.
Yeah.
And just, that was it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Whereas
so
a child would,
sometimes it takes 30 minutes. You've got cartoons, you've got toys, you've
all
got
of it,
this and
all
that.
of it, the rewards, everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so that was fun. And I would travel for that.
Oh,
So
wow.
the regional facility was about a 3-hour drive that I would make every other week. And so there's a lot of travel. And that was so fun. I don't think I was married yet, and I didn't have kids yet.
I was going to say, were you married or had Vandy yet? No?
No. We might have just gotten married around that time, but no kids yet. So it's easy to do jobs like that.
Totally.
Yes.
Yeah. And no 2 days are the same, right? Like
No.
it didn't feel monotonous. You weren't in a
no.
rut. It was like you got all the things,
It
all
was
the
very exciting.
Yeah, I bet. Wow.
A little bit scary, but I like going out of my comfort zone. Yeah.
That is so interesting because I feel like change is hard for a lot of people. And it seems like you're just like here for it. You're just like,
there's a quote that life begins outside of your comfort zone. And I've always stuck to that. Everything I do is something new. I love new experiences, the novelty, the excitement of, trying something new.
Yeah.
And then maybe that's like some type of addiction where you're like, like I gotta do that.
yeah.
Part of and that's another reason why I love traveling.
yeah. And okay, let me get this stat right. You've completed 18 dental missions across 17 countries.
Yes.
But overall, you're an avid traveler and have visited 69 countries in total.
And counting.
Mel,
We've got
that
2 more coming up in a
is-
couple months. Wow. Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm so happy to be traveling again. I took a little hiatus with the pandemic and with having 2 kids.
Right.
But now
those are very big reasons why.
And it's such a bummer because I would probably have a lot more under my belt, but if it weren't for that. But
Yeah. So how do you, let's take it a step back. I'm talking to Mel, the person, not necessarily Mel, the doctor, because we'll get into No Borders. But how do you plan your trips? Do you have certain, and Brody too, obviously, you travel together, you travel with friends, whatever, family. How do you decide where you want to go? The world is your oyster,
Yes.
right? How do you decide? And then how often? I guess there's factors, right? There's work, there's finances, there's family, there's pandemics. So those things. But do you okay, we're going to do 1 trip a year or 2 trips a year, or do you just kind of
I just go with the flow.
just go with the flow?
I have so many lists in my head. So I have my
Yes.
bucket list of locations I've always wanted to go to.
Okay.
And I try not to repeat countries because I like to try.
You get to try something
Yes,
new.
Yes.
Feels very on brand for you. I love it.
Yes. And so I don't like to repeat countries. I mean, I have. And I have a running list of places that I really, really want to see, or certain events that I want to participate in, like Oktoberfest in Germany,
Yes.
or the Northern Lights in Iceland, or in Thailand. I really wanted to go to an elephant sanctuary. And so there's just, that's how my list, my
So
mental checklist is.
timing is a factor with those things.
Yes,
obviously.
yes.
Okay.
I have certain months of the year that are best weather for each location. And then I also look for when the flights either go on sale or when there's award tickets that go on sale as well.
Yeah.
And we just book what we find. Sometimes it's at 2 a.m. finding a flight deal on Twitter. We've done a trip to New Zealand. It was a $250 round trip from LA to New Zealand. Brody and I booked it at 2 a.m. when he found it on Twitter,
Stop
and we
it.
just booked it.
Stop it.
Yes. In dental school, I was in Fort Lauderdale, which is the hub of Spirit Airlines. This is right when they started.
Yes.
And they would have these $9 fare deals that would pop up. My friends and I flew to Peru on a long weekend to go to Machu Picchu on a $9 flight.
Casual. Let's just go to Machu Picchu for the
I
weekend.
was like, guys, we have to go. We pay more in
my
taxes
gosh.
than the actual airfare
Yes.
for those trips. But whenever I find something like that, I'm like, we got to book
So
this right
you
now.
guys find those,
Yes.
you don't
I'm
have
always
like
on
a
the hunt.
agent or something. to tell you.
No,
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah, it's Twitter, and now there's so many flight blogs and
Yeah, I
social
know.
media accounts.
How do you filter through the noise and
It's
just
so-
find what works for you?
It's so much harder now than it was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, there was the points guy.
Yeah.
And then flight deals or at flight deals on Twitter.
Yeah.
But
And
once
now-
you find the deal, you have to book it immediately. It books up really quickly.
Yeah, so you're like
So
talking
you-
to Brody. Let's go. Let's do it.
It's always me trying to convince him. He's like, well, I have this. I have and he has, just a number of vacation days per year. Whereas
right.
I don't, I'm a contractor with
Okay.
all of my offices that I work at.
Yeah.
And so my availability is whatever I give the office. So I
which
can
is
say,
amazing.
yeah. And so I don't have a set number that I can take off. I just always give them advance notice so we can schedule patients around it. So
Amazing.
yeah, so that's really nice on my
So
on my
nice.
end.
On your end,
And the
yeah.
Buck Brody's restricted by, a certain number of days per year.
Yeah, which makes sense.
Yes.
So, and with the kids, I imagine or maybe not, a little less of the impulse and just kind of trying to plan a little bit ahead or not.
Oh, I'm on a little bit of a revenge travel kick right now because from fresh off my hiatus.
Yes.
Yeah, when Vandy was young, it was difficult to travel with him. He was a very active young boy. And so between the ages of 2 and 4, I tried not to travel with him.
Yeah.
Because it was more work than it was fun.
Yes.
But now that he's 6, he's a pleasure to travel with
I'm
now.
sure. And wow, you're building, where were you most recently? That was for your birthday, right?
Yes, we were in the Maldives.
Happy belated birthday.
Thank you.
That looked magical.
Oh, that was top of my bucket.
Truly
Yes.
looked like a dream.
Yes, I celebrated my 40th birthday. It's a big milestone moment.
Amazing.
And we went to the Maldives. We stayed at this incredible resort that was kid-friendly, but not kid-forward, if that makes sense.
I got that. I mean, you guys seem like you do a great job of just bringing the kids in tow no matter what. But it felt like, from what you've shared on Insta, it's like, it felt very like the kids were acclimated fine. It wasn't like weird to have kids there,
No,
right?
it wasn't.
Yeah, which is
but
great.
Everyone had a great time. It's, the Maldives has, I think, 1,200 islands along its archipelago. I think that's how you pronounce it. A chain of islands. And every resort usually takes up the entire island. And so the island that we were on didn't have roads. There weren't any cars. So every person had their own bike. Vandy loved that.
Oh, I bet.
If you ask him what was his favorite part of going to the Maldives, he says, the bikes.
The bikes. I mean, right? My heart. That is such a sweet.
I know. I'm like, not the beautiful
response.
clear water.
Yeah.
Not the
not literally having a hut over the
beaches,
water out of the movies.
Right.
Beautiful.
Yeah, no. He's the bikes.
The bikes.
That's what he told the customs
really
agent when we left the
cute.
country. He's like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah, that's just so perfect.
It's so sweet.
It's
Yeah.
so sweet.
Yeah. So we would bike all over the island. It was so fun.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And so with all those islands, I didn't realize that. How do you know which one to go to? Like, do you do your own research? Clearly,
Yeah,
you do.
I do. I've been saving my Hilton honors points for years.
Yeah, amazing.
So I think I had accrued over 600,000 points.
Amazing.
Through the credit card and
Yeah.
through stays, and then you build your status, and then you get 10x points for, that's a whole nother,
That's a whole nother thing,
conversation.
yeah.
But points and all that, I'm really into that as well.
I love it.
And so I had been saving towards the Hilton properties. At that time, there were only 2 properties, and now I think there's 6.
Oh, wow.
So I had already known which specific resort I wanted to go to. And I have a close friend that works for Hilton, and she just helps me, with all the details.
Steer you, yeah. Oh my gosh, amazing.
Yeah, so that's how I knew exactly where I was going before, years before we went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
I know, it was a dream.
Okay, so you said you're adding 2 more countries soon?
Yes.
Where are you going?
We're going to Ireland. Well, technically 3. Ireland, Northern Ireland, and Scotland, since Northern Ireland is a separate.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're headed to the
Wow.
British Open, the golf tournament.
Oh my gosh, how fun.
I know. I'm so excited.
What a dream.
We've been applying for the lottery to get tickets
Okay,
for
so
it.
how did see? And I wouldn't even know how this works. So
Yeah.
you know, so there's a lottery for the tickets.
Yes.
Okay.
So you enter in the lottery just like the Masters tournament, for
Yeah,
example.
okay.
We never win that one. We're still waiting on that.
Yeah.
But we got this one, and it gives you the opportunity to purchase a ticket. It doesn't give you the ticket. So, and they give you specific dates. So we got the tickets for Tuesday, Wednesday practice rounds, and a Saturday tournament ticket. And we're like, okay, we actually won. So
won.
we have to go.
Yes.
Yeah. So
How fun.
yeah, I'm very excited. I haven't been to that part of the world yet.
I haven't either. Are you bringing the kids?
Oh, they're definitely coming.
Oh my gosh. I feel like Vandy would love that.
Vandy loves golf, so
Does
he
he?
knows way more. And he's the best golfer in the family. That's
Have you been to the Tahoe tournament? The
No,
celebrity
I-
Tahoe
no,
tournament?
I-
Obviously so close, not in Ireland. But my sister has 2 boys, Vandy, well, a little older than Vandy. And they took the kids there, and a daughter. They took the kids there the last 2 years. And they are just, it's like,
That's on one of my bucket list as
Yes.
well.
Like it looks like so much fun. There's tons of kids. It's very like, they're very like social with the guests. It just seems like a really fun tournament.
And the Edgewood looks beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, it's stunning.
Yeah.
Stunning.
Oh, that's definitely on my list. Maybe we can make that happen this year, next year.
And like
We'll see.
closer, you know,
Yes.
just a little bit.
I know, just a little closer.
bit. Well, you get to add 3 more countries to your belt. So that's
Yes,
amazing.
I'm very excited for that.
How fun.
Yes.
So talk to me about traveling with kids.
You know,
You've always done it, right?
I've
Like
always
even when
done
he
it.
was a baby. You said that, what, 2 to 4 was a little challenging, but
right. But before and after, I like to stick to a pretty strict sleep schedule at home. So the regulated, they know when's nap time, when's bedtime.
Right.
But when I travel, it goes completely out the
I
window.
know, right? How do you do
Yeah.
that, especially with time zone changes and all of that?
It's
right?
It's difficult, but you just have to let go of your expectations.
Yeah,
right.
I love that.
You try
It's
to
so true.
You try to keep as close as you can to the schedule, but you also have to be prepared that it's not going to stay.
Love
it's
that.
not going to stick, and so it makes Mello, my 1-year-old, more adaptable and more versatile. I think it was harder for Vandy for his personality, I think, to be on the go as much as she is. But she's doing great. She naps in her stroller. So I just try to time out when she can be in her stroller during nap times when we go about our day. So as long as she has access to that stroller, she can take her nap, and
Which
that's
is
about it.
everything. Because to your point, some kids need like a very structured, I'm going in my
Yes.
crib, I'm going in my room.
Yep.
Which if you have the capability to do that at home, great, but it's
Right.
harder on the road.
Yes, it really is.
So what was the time change when you went to the Maldives and how was it coming back?
I think that was a 14-hour time difference. I'm getting my trips mixed up because we had just been in Thailand
I know.
10 days prior to
And
that.
you brought your daughter to Thailand and your
Yes.
mom was there,
And
right?
My mom came to help watch her
Oh
while
my
I
God,
worked.
that was amazing, Mel. I was like, wow, this is unreal.
Yeah.
What'd you post? You posted a picture like pumping.
Oh yes,
We're doing
I
it.
was pumping in the jungle in the middle of a work day.
I can't.
But
Wow.
you know, it's easier now with a wireless pump where you don't
know,
have
right?
to plug in and
Yeah.
no one knows what you're doing. Just goes in your shirt. No one
Yes.
sees anything. And
Yes.
so that makes it really easy.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let's talk Ngo Borders.
Okay.
For those that don't know about it, tell them when it was established, what the mission is, and then we can kind of talk specifics about some of your recent trips. But
Okay, well, No Borders. No is spelled Ngo, which is my maiden name, and it's pronounced Ngo, but you could just say no. And it's a play on words with the whole doctors without borders. There's no borders. When it comes to healthcare, everyone should have access to it. And around the world, since I've traveled so often, ever since I was young, I've seen the disparity between having access to healthcare versus where I live in the U.S., where it's much different. And you know, it started in 2009. I was in my first year of dental school at Nova Southeastern University in Fort Lauderdale. And I was walking through the halls. There was a sign I saw for the Christian Medical Dental Association, spring break trip, going to Nicaragua. Like, if you want to come to this meeting on Wednesday or at lunchtime. And I was like,
right.
what is that? And I didn't know anyone in that club, and I didn't know anyone doing mission work. It said a medical mission.
Yeah,
and I didn't
yeah.
know what that was.
Yeah.
And at that time, no one was doing it. It wasn't a very popular thing to do, whereas now it happens all the time. Mm-hmm. So I showed up to a meeting by myself because none of my friends were interested. And they were like, what is that? So I was like, whatever, I'll just go by myself.
yeah.
I showed up. I was the only dental student. There were only other medical students there. And they were like, of course you can come. I was like, would that be okay? They're like, yes. You just have to find one dentist to come with you, and you can work under supervision of a licensed dentist.
Oh,
so I was like,
makes sense, right? As a student.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I was like, who can I beg to go
Recruit,
with me?
yeah.
So I was like, my sister. So I'm the 4th dentist in my family.
That is
To rewind a bit.
Yes, let's give family dynamics
All
here.
right. So I'm
Wow.
the youngest of 6 children.
Wow, you're the youngest?
The youngest of
I
6.
love that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so my sister, she's the 5th. She's a dentist, and
Mm-hmm.
her husband is a dentist as well. I've known him since I was 4 years old, so he's my brother. And then my eldest brother, the firstborn,
Yes.
he's also a dentist.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And
So, what's the lineup as far as girls, boys?
so it goes 3 boys and 3 girls. We're the Brady
No
Bunch.
way. I
Yes.
love that.
Yes. And so
I
it
love
goes dentist, computer guy. He's like a senior IT something for the U.S. government
Smart.
and many other things, but
Yes.
computer stuff.
Yes.
And then chiropractor, and then attorney, and then dentist and dentist. And so, yeah.
Look at all you smarty pants. Wow.
Growing up to Asian refugee immigrant parents, you only had two options in your career. You could either become a dentist or a lawyer. Those were your only options.
And was that what your parents were?
No. My father was the governor of his province in Vietnam before the Vietnam War.
Wow.
And that's a whole other story of that. But that did help inspire No Borders and the nonprofit.
I bet. And so did you found No Borders with your siblings? Is that correct? Or is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I was the one that presented the idea.
Yes,
And
love it.
and then I begged my sister to come with me on the very first trip.
Yeah.
So we went to Nicaragua together, just my sister and I.
Oh my God.
And we were the only dentists there, and it was the best trip of my life.
Wow.
My sister and I fell in love with the whole mission world. We
Yeah.
had no idea what it was like. We worked for 1 week in a small town in Nicaragua, seeing patients doing extractions and I think a few cleanings here and there. But
And you were the only two dentists there.
yes, the rest was a medical crew. I can't even put into words like that feeling. It was like now I'm about to cry.
And emotional. It's so sweet. I can feel the passion though.
Yes.
I mean, it's so amazing that you're able to give these people that wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to do that,
Right,
the
right.
chance to be able to have the care that they deserve, you know?
There are so many grown up.
Yeah,
That's what I use with my kids and at work.
Yes.
There are so many grown-ups that I encounter on these missions that have never seen a dentist before in their lives.
I believe it. Yeah, wow.
And that's just wild to think day to day. That even a lot of people here that may not have a lot of money can still go see a doctor or an emergency
have
room
access.
or
Yeah.
access to something.
Right.
But in a lot of these cases, it takes a 2-day walk and money that they don't have in order to go to see a dentist.
Yes.
And so
and the money thing obviously is a huge factor, but it sounds like it's a time and logistics thing too, right? And
I
so
can't imagine walking
it's
somewhere
not
for
at the
2
top
days.
of the list. Yeah.
Right. And so, it just opened up this part in our hearts that we didn't know.
Yeah. And had your sister ever been on a mission trip?
No.
Okay.
She didn't want to go with me.
Yeah.
She's like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, fine." I literally begged her over and over and over till she said yes. And she came and we loved it. Then the next year I was like, "All right, I got to get my brother in on this." I
Yes.
was like, "Marge, you stay home." And I invited my brother. I call
Yes.
him Anhai.
Yeah.
And he came with me. He also fell in love with it.
Amazing.
We worked in a different city. This time it was more in the mountains. We had to take horseback in order to get to the village. It was really, really
How
fun.
to take horseback to get
Yes.
to the village.
Yes.
Wow. I'm sure you have so many stories of like where do you stay when you go there? Is that a silly question? Like, do they have like housing for you or?
There is. We find, what we can. They're usually basic hotels,
Okay.
motels. I'm not really sure what to call them sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like a home a lot of times.
That's
or
what I
like
envision.
a
Okay.
school. Sometimes we've stayed in so many different types of lodging. We've stayed out in the open under the stars in Haiti. That was really cool. We had mosquito nets over mattresses on this balcony. We've stayed in, I think multiple schools where we just bunked up and just made our own beds. We stayed in nice hotels.
Yeah.
Not so nice hotels.
Yeah.
It's just every trip is different because every trip is planned with a different contact. Mm-hmm. And
Wait, you said with a different contact? What do
Yeah.
you mean by that?
and so I've partnered with many other different nonprofits.
Got it, okay.
And I've also planned my own
Yes.
trips as well.
Yes.
And a lot of the next missions are they come to life from a random moment. For example,
Yes.
my brother, the eldest one who's a dentist, one of his patients is from Peru.
Yeah.
And he was telling his patient about how, we do these trips. And the patient was like, "You need to come to my village in Peru." And we're like, "Okay." And so he linked us up with the local priest in his hometown, very small village in Peru. And we set it up with this priest. And that trip came about from that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then for Ecuador,
And what do? You host like a clinic of sorts,
Yes,
right? Where you tell them to come to a certain location. Maybe it's a church, maybe it's a school, whatever it looks like. And what do you bring? Or how does that work logistically?
every trip's been slightly different,
Yeah.
but we just bring the basics. We bring local anesthetic to numb the tooth.
Okay.
And then we bring the instruments to surgically extract teeth.
Okay.
And we bring toothbrushes and toothpaste as donations. And that's our bare minimum. If we have that, we can work. A lot of times we're able to bring filling material or dental units with the drill and the suction. That's a luxury.
I think about I think about the traditional American dental sort of setup.
There's so many things in dentistry, right?
Yes.
But when you go down to the most basic, all you need is a syringe with a needle and anesthetic.
Yeah.
An elevator and a forceps to take out a tooth, and some gauze would be nice, and that's it. That's really all you need.
Would be nice, but not necessary. Oh my gosh.
We have a lamp on our forehead.
Yeah.
I usually
for your light. Okay.
Yeah, to see into the mouth. And
Yes.
when we don't, we've had an assistant hold a flashlight for us into the mouth. And then the chairs, we have used folding chairs. We've used church pews. We've used different medical beds.
And like they just sit.
They just sit there. As long as they have somewhere to sit or lay, we can do it. Yeah, we've worked on
amazing.
wooden old church pews on dirt floor in the middle of an open jungle in Jamaica. That was so fun. It gets hot. There's no air conditioning.
Humid, hot,
Yes.
humid.
You know, I've actually, to bring it back, we've actually also worked in a maximum security prison in Jamaica on our mission. That was wild.
That's like bringing like all of your experience in one trip.
Yes,
Right?
yeah, that was.
So you say we. So who came with you on that one? Was it your brother, your sister, both?
That one, I don't think either one came with me.
Yeah?
That was through my dental school.
Wow.
They started doing annual mission trips, and it was always to Jamaica. And so you have to apply to that. You have to, explain why you want to go, why you'd be a good fit, and then they select it. And so I was so ecstatic to be chosen for that. But that was all part of, building my experiences to ultimately lead me to start the nonprofit. And so I started at my third year of dental school. And by that time,
Oh wow, Mel.
yeah. So my first year, I went to Nicaragua. My second year, I went back to Nicaragua. And that's when I had both my brothers and sisters on board. So we're like, let's just start our own thing.
Let's do
The
it.
next year, we started it.
Wow.
And that year, I went on 3 mission trips. And people ask me,
I mean,
"How
and
did
you're
you do
so
that?"
young. But also in school.
school, yes.
Like, that's a lot,
Yeah.
right? Did you work through school or do you not work through dental school?
You don't-
Like your
yeah.
job is school.
Yes.
And then you do like internships and like hands-on, what's it
Yes.
called?
Yeah,
Why is my brain-
residencies
Thank
and
you.
rotations.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, wow.
Yeah.
But add what, 3 mission
3
trips,
trips.
to the year?
Yes. I know. That year, we went to Brazil, Antigua, and Vietnam. And the Vietnam trip was our first trip as our own nonprofit.
Yeah, wow. Okay, so you established it though, your third year of school.
I did, yes.
Wow.
And it was incredible. And, that Antigua trip, that's an island in the Caribbean. And being in Florida, that's just, in our backyard.
yeah.
But that was with a partnership with the U.S. Navy. So I was working on the USS Comfort. It was a medical hospital ship. So that was really cool. So there's been a lot of
Do you
varied.
keep like a journal?
I should.
You really should.
I really should.
Write a book or a journal of your travels. I mean, these stories are amazing.
I had a blog. It was mellypoo.com.
Oh my gosh,
Where
really?
I did that, but I've neglected the
Perfect.
website for the last few years.
It's so hard. I know. I had some friends do travel blogs, years ago too.
Right.
And it was like, how cool though to be
Right.
able to document those things. Okay,
Yes.
I'll have to look back at Melly.
And
too.
then I also have noborders.org where
Yes.
I've started journaling these trips. I've only gotten 2 down. I need to find time to update the other trips, but
Add it to the list,
I
right?
know, add it to the long to-do list.
Well, I mean, like we were talking about earlier before we started recording, you said, which made me feel so much better, that there's science that supports that. What'd you say? After having more kids, you're
Yes, after having the first child, you don't have as many memory cells to retain all the new experiences
Yes.
as you did with your first child. And so it seems as if time is going by quicker with your second, third, fourth child because your memory isn't retaining the second child's first steps as well as you retained it the first time around.
makes me feel so much better about
Yes, and it's not a bad thing. It's,
the-
just
yeah.
there's a finite number of neurons, I believe, that are
Yeah,
firing.
right.
And so,
Well, and they say mom brain. That's like a more educated explanation
Yes.
of such. But I bring that up because I would think for all of your amazing travels, for all of these amazing places that you've been, experiences that you've had, you don't want to forget those.
yes.
mean, it sounds like they're unforgettable.
Yes,
but
really,
I mean, life,
I know.
age, all of it. It's just like you don't want to forget those things.
I
That's
know.
amazing.
I know. There's been so many incredible experiences.
I mean,
every trip is
yeah, I bet. And my, a natural question would be like, what's a memorable moment that sticks out to you? But it sounds like even just in talking, you've had so many.
Every trip has a wild, crazy situation that happens that, doesn't see you
Can
real.
you share one?
Okay, so Ecuador.
Yes.
Ecuador is a very special trip because that was the one I brought Vandy on with me when he was 12 months old.
Okay.
And I did not bring my husband.
First baby. He's 1, which 1 is a hard age.
It is. He had
Was he walking yet?
No.
Okay.
So that made it a little bit easier.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
kind of, or not trying to walk,
yes,
right?
But no.
Okay.
Yes.
So how did that work when you brought him with you? Did you have help? Did you have family?
Yes.
Okay,
I would
great.
not have brought him without my sisters. And
Yeah.
my mom didn't go on that trip, but my aunts did. I had one aunt with me, but Birdie couldn't come because of work schedule.
Right.
So I was like, I'm just going to be brave and I'm just going to do it. And it was very difficult. It was extremely challenging. And I remember saying when I got back that I'm never traveling with a baby again. And of course, I've done it so many times since. But
you did travel with an almost 1-year-old too. Again,
yes, again, I did the same thing again. It was much easier the second time around. But that trip, we went to Ecuador, but we traveled to a very remote, small village off of one of the tributaries off the Amazon River. So we were right off the river, and everywhere we went, we had to go by boat. There were piranhas in the river, and we caught some, and we could see them. There were monkeys, and one night at dinner, we had a long table where we had our group dinners every single night. One night, we were just, enjoying our meal, and my sister just stands up screaming and this was like a terror. You could hear the terror in her voice. There was a giant tarantula that dropped from the ceiling onto the side of the table right where she was sitting.
I would have lost my mind.
And that was normal. They're like,
no big deal.
Yes, they're like, don't worry.
Oh my gosh, I would have died.
Goodness.
Wow.
Yes, and that add that to the list of wildlife
shenanigans. Yeah,
like the piranhas aren't enough.
The piranhas and the monkeys weren't enough. Let's add a tarantula to the mix.
Oh my goodness.
So visiting all these places, I imagine you have to have specific sort of like health like vaccinations,
yes.
right?
I've had, I think, every vaccination.
I mean, you have to.
Yeah. I've done it
and
all.
And you know that, the research, what you need to do. They tell you all that.
Right.
Wow.
And I've done it all already, so I feel like I'm good for a while now.
Yeah. I'm good.
Yeah.
Ecuador. And then you had your 1-year-old there.
I had my 1-year-old with the tarantulas and the piranhas. And we stayed in this, it was called an eco stay. There were huts. There was no air conditioning. There was, like the leaves on the ceiling, and it was awesome. We had this one afternoon activity where we learned how to shoot this thing. It was like out of like a wooden straw, but there's an arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I feel like I've seen those.
Probably on like Indiana Jones or something,
yeah,
right?
Totally.
Yeah, we had a lesson on how to use one of those.
Oh my gosh. See, and while you're there, you get to be immersed in the culture and.
Yes.
So do you speak any other languages besides English?
I speak 4 languages.
4.
None of them perfectly. Wow. English is my second. English is my second language.
Okay, and what's your first?
My first is Vietnamese.
Amazing.
My family's from Vietnam, and so I speak Vietnamese, English, Spanish, and French. But my French is terrible. But I can get by.
Language. It's like it's a lot of it's the pronunciation, right?
Pronunciation is the hardest part for me with French.
That's amazing.
But I speak Spanish with my patients here in the U.S., and then when we travel to a Spanish-speaking country, I translate for whoever needs to as well. My dental Spanish is better than my conversation.
Right,
Spanish.
because, Yeah. Gosh, what an amazing gift that is.
Oh, I love languages too. I guess that's another thing about loving and trying new things, but I love languages.
And you're so studious. You're so smart. How have you, obviously Vietnamese was your first. English was your second, you said. Mm-hmm. How did you learn the other two, Spanish and French?
Spanish, I took that in high school, college, and even after college, I would just take classes at an international language school in D.C. And then just practicing it on a day-to-day basis at work and on these trips.
Amazing.
Yeah, and then French came about. I took classes just for fun.
I know. I've always said if I had like time to do that, I would totally take language classes. I love learning language.
Yeah.
I just wish I had the time to really
This was before kids.
I know, right?
Yeah, this was before kids. Another thing I did just for fun was I went to culinary school.
I'm sorry, what?
I know.
Let me get this straight.
I know.
Okay. Dentist, mom, wife, sister, daughter, founder of a nonprofit, now going to be a professor. Add chef to the list.
Well, I'm not technically a chef. I did the first semester. It was, I think, 3 semesters worth of classes that you could take. I only wanted to get the foundational. I just wanted to be in the culinary world, but I never planned on working in the kitchen.
No,
I can't do it. But I did that when I lived in New York because, I mean, that's where I'm going to have the best access to a culinary education, and I wanted to do it.
Wait, where did you take it?
It was called the French Culinary Institute. It's been renamed a few times. Now I believe that they've merged with ICE, International Culinary Education.
Okay.
But it's a big school.
Yeah. My dad went to culinary school in New York. Yeah.
Oh, he did?
He went to the Culinary Institute of America in New York.
Okay, the CIA. I mean, that's like top tier.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Chef David Chang with Momofuku.
Oh, I feel like I've heard, yes.
He was probably one of the biggest chefs that came from the school, so it was very exciting. It was an incredible school. I've made really great friends I still keep in touch with today from school.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, so that was definitely a highlight. I love cooking and I love food, but I never wanted to make a career out of it. That was just for fun.
It was just for fun.
Just for funsies.
Wow.
So that's what I did. When I finished my residency in New York, that's the first thing I did. I'm like, okay, now I'm free from dental school. I can start culinary school.
Yes.
So that was Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m.
That's late.
After a full day of working, I moved.
Do they at least
schedule.
feed you? Like, do you get to eat what you make?
Yes.
Oh,
And
good.
I had so many leftovers.
Amazing.
Brody was very happy.
Yeah, stoked, I'm sure.
I would bring home these tubs of rendered duck fat from making our own duck confit.
Yeah.
And my teammate that was sitting next door to me, she was staying in a hotel. She was like, I can't take all this home. Do you want it? I was like, yes. I came home with containers and containers of duck fat, and you would just cook with it.
And you would just cook with it.
Eggs, fries, like everything.
So do you cook a lot at home now?
I've been so busy with work now, working 4 days a week, and then the 2 kids. And no, I've been eating a lot of frozen foods, which is not very healthy.
It's so hard, and it's so hard. So yeah, tell me about your schedule. How do you juggle it all? You work 4 days.
I work 4 days a week,
and you said you're a contractor, so you haven't always done that, right? You've done or no? Have you?
For the past 10 years, I think I've only been a contractor, meaning I'm not an employee, but I'm not obligated to a certain amount of days of work or anything like that. And so, right now I'm doing 4 days a week at Palm Bluff Surgery Center, which is for pediatrics. And I have a nanny in the mornings, and then I have both kids in school. My son's in 1st grade, and the baby just started daycare 2 weeks ago.
So sweet.
Yeah,
that's a big move, Mama. Gosh, I remember I was so emotional every time each of my babies started daycare. It was like you cry the first at least full week, sometimes 2. Is she adjusting okay?
Oh, she's doing so great. Good. She didn't cry this morning.
Oh,
at
amazing!
drop-off. We're like, yes,
that's a win. That is a win right there. I love it.
I know, but what makes it easier the second time around is that I'm not doing the drop-offs. It's Brody doing it.
Oh yeah.
So if I were there, I would have been holding back tears. Yes. But since I'm just texting him like, hey, how'd it go?
Yeah,
it's a lot easier.
Oh, totally. Like even when the kids go into preschool, they were in daycare and then they went to preschool, and they just had a hard time. I mean, it was a lot. It's overstimulating. It's new. It feels very big kid, right? So Michael would take them too, and I'd be like, "Sorry, babe."
I know.
Sorry, not sorry, because I'd be crying too.
I think it's easier for the child too.
I agree.
Because it's easier to say bye to dad sometimes than mom. At least for my kids, it's
same so far. Same. Or if you do the drop off too long, then it's like, oof. Then it's just really rough. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I know. I'm so grateful that my mom was able to stay with us the entire first year.
That's amazing.
I know. So we either had my mom or Brody's mom switching in and out all year long.
Amazing. What do the kids call your mom?
My mom is Bao Wai.
Bao Wai.
Which is mom's mom. in Vietnamese.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how blessed.
Yes.
For all of you that
I know.
she was there for a year. That's amazing.
It was very great. And that also really helped my breastfeeding journey.
I bet.
To have all the Vietnamese soups and broths. Like I feel like that made a big difference in maintaining supply versus
I'm
with my
sure.
first.
Yeah.
Where I didn't have that and it was a bit more of a struggle.
Yeah. So you breastfed Mello and you pumped. So you were
Yes.
able to do breast and bottle.
Yes.
She was fine.
Oh yes.
Gosh,
Yeah,
I've had friends who their baby won't take a bottle.
Well, she was
challenging.
forced to because I started working again after 6
Right?
months. So
Yeah.
at first it was challenging, but then she just had to.
She went with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I know. And I've been wanting to wean off breastfeeding.
I was going to say, you're still doing it?
I am.
That's major props to you, girl. That's awesome.
I only held on this long because
Yes.
I knew I had 2 big international flights coming up.
Yes.
And it's much easier to nurse rather than, make bottles, warm the bottle on the plane.
I know.
And it's like their ears and, so I was
all
like,
of it.
I was like, if I can, I'm just going to hold off. So we have that.
Yeah.
We came back from the last trip. She got the flu. And so that really helped nursing,
Oh gosh, isn't breast milk just like the magical?
It is. And it's
remedy?
soothing. And,
Yes.
and so I was like, all right, we're going to hold on for this. And then now we're like, okay, we just started daycare, so hold on for that.
But I know. But you know what? It's kind of, you'll know.
Yes.
I mean, you
Yeah,
know, obviously
soon.
she's your second. You'll know when the time is right. I feel like there was one moment with my second where I was pumping. At this point, I was pumping during the days, obviously, and then breastfeeding at night with her to like soothe to go to bed and whatnot. And I just remember like I had pumped. I didn't have anywhere to keep the milk cold.
Right.
I had to go to a Walgreens to get ice packs to make ice.
yes.
Not even ice packs because they weren't cold. And an ice chest to put in my car. And I was pumping from my car. It was just like a hot mess of a day.
Yes.
There was a lot of coordination that needed to happen. And I had been doing it for like 7 months, I think. And I was just like, I can't do it. I can't do it
So much
anymore.
work. It is
It
so
was
much.
so much. It requires, to your point, a lot of thought, a lot of coordination, a lot of planning.
Yes. And so in Thailand, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I can't not pump all day long if I'm not with her.
Right.
And, and still maintain the supply at night and, on the flights. And so I brought an ice pack with me, but it wouldn't last, like 12 hours,
know, yeah.
especially in the jungles of Thailand where it's hot. And so I would ask a local, once we arrived at our destination, if they knew where I could get ice. And so I had a lot of people helping me out and finding ice. And
Bless.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
yeah, so it was very tough.
Okay, so tell me about Thailand. That's your most recent travel.
Yes.
Your mama came with you.
Yes, I took my mom.
And Mello came with you. And at the time, she was like just shy of 1, or how old was she?
Just turned 1. I think
Just
she
turned
had
one,
just
okay.
had her first birthday party.
Sweet,
And we left
cute.
the next week.
Casual. And you're like doing it.
Yeah, I was like, you're
bringing the
one, time to
babe.
go.
Yeah. Okay, so what set the stage for that trip?
So we were based out of Chiang Mai, which is
Okay.
a northern city. It's very different than Bangkok, which is what people probably think of when they think of Thailand. It's northern, it's in the mountains, it's green, it's lush.
It looked very lush.
It's beautiful. But the cuisine is very different than the South. So when you think of Thailand, you think of like pad Thai and like mango sticky rice, which they have that too, but that's like a southern thing. The South is more like sweet and savory.
okay.
Right? Like pad Thai is a little bit sweet.
Yeah.
In the north, it's more about spicy. Yes, and so there's different food, there's different dishes, and there's tons of. There are elephants all over Thailand, but Chiang Mai is known for their elephant sanctuaries, where they rescue.
So you were able to go.
That was the first thing I did. I landed, I slept for maybe 7 hours, and I went straight to an elephant sanctuary.
Amazing.
And those are incredible because they rescue these elephants that have been just abused for tricks and shows and stuff like that, and then they take them into a huge plot of land in the north where they can roam freely. They can live a more natural life, and they just take care of them. And so when you visit a sanctuary, you're not there to see them perform anything. They're not doing anything for you.
Well, yeah.
You're taking care of them.
Yeah, wow.
And so I bathed elephants, fed them, brushed them. We were
Did you
taking.
go by yourself, or who'd you go
My
with?
nephew went with me. So I met my sister, my husband, and my nephew. And my sister was like, "You have fun. I'll be doing something else.
I'll be doing something else.
I will not be hugging
Is
an
this the
elephant.
same sister you dragged to Ecuador?
Yes.
It still hasn't changed however many years later,
but her son came with me. He
Yeah.
is 19, I believe now, or 21.
Aw.
I'm losing track of time with them.
No,
but
right? They get so big.
yeah, but we spent all day taking care of elephants. So that was incredible. That was the launch to our trips. I was like, all right, I'm here. I'm in Thailand.
You're doing it.
Yes.
That's amazing.
And then from there, we took these vans on a 6-hour journey deep into the mountains. And when I say mountains, I mean like we're climbing, we're going uphill, it's windy, and there's some pavement, sometimes not, dirt roads, rocks. And there are quite a few stops of quite a few car sickness episodes within our group.
Yeah.
I was nervous about that with taking the baby. I was like, how's she going to do on this mountainous journey?
Right.
She did great.
Good. Of
Thank
course she
God.
did.
Yeah, she did great.
She's the baby on the go.
Yeah, and it was tricky for me because I have bad car sickness, but I couldn't take Dramamine because I'm breastfeeding.
So do I. Yeah, gosh. That's
So I was like, all right, hope I'm okay.
And you were fine?
I was fine. I sat in the
Good.
front, I focused out the window. I have like all my tricks that I do.
Yes.
With that. Thankfully, everything went great, but that
Great.
shows how far remote we went. And we stayed at one location, but we worked in 3 different villages. Once we were 6-7 hours outside of Chiang Mai.
Okay.
So we went west. We were near the border of Myanmar. So these aren't even considered Thai locals. They're different tribes that live in the mountains. They have their own language. They don't speak
How
Thai.
did you decide on this location? How did this one come about?
Another like serendipitous type
Yes.
of by fate. I was speaking with my director of nursing at Palm Buff Surgery Center. Her name is also Melissa, actually. She's a nurse. Yeah. And I was telling her, I was like, I have a nonprofit. I do these trips. I haven't been in a while, but I'm ready to go. She's like, my friend is going on a trip, and they're actually looking for dentists. She just emailed me asking if I knew any dentists that wanted to go. And I was like, where are they going? And she's like, Thailand. I was like, which part of Thailand? And when she said Chiang Mai, I was like, that bucket list in my head, I had Chiang Mai elephants. Yes. I was like, when is it? And it happened to work out with our timing and everything. I was like,
Chills.
I think within 3 weeks, I booked the flight.
No way. Casual office chatter turns into a trip to Thailand.
Yeah,
and then you recruited your sister?
Yes. I didn't want to go without her.
Yeah.
I love my sister and I. We're so similar. We're very close. We're 10 years apart, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say age because your nephew you said was 19.
Yeah, my sister's 10 years older than me. We're very different, but we're very similar. And so,
that's sweet. Isn't that funny how that happens?
Yeah.
I feel that way about my sisters. I have 2 sisters, and we're so different, but we're so close.
Yes.
But we have a lot of the same interests,
Right.
if that makes sense.
Right.
But personality-wise, we are very different,
Yes.
which is funny.
Yes. And, I'll meet people and they're like, are you guys twins? I'm like, we're 10 years apart. And then people would mix us
Your
up.
sister's stoked.
I know. But people would mix us up too because we are very similar in our personalities, but at the same time we are different.
So is she close by or is she
She's
still in Florida?
Yeah, everyone's in Florida.
Oh, man.
So I know. Yeah.
Well, compared to all these other travels, that seems very close, right? Just a hop, skip, and a jump to Florida.
Yes, actually traveling to Florida feels like an international trip from Fresno.
You think? I know.
Yes, it
it
takes at least 12 hours to get there.
Really?
To Palm Beach.
That is so
There's
discouraging.
It's really difficult. Holidays, we have to plan out an
What,
entire
like 1 to
day
2
get there.
stops or what?
Yeah, at least 2 layovers. Sometimes we've done 3. It's really
Oh. I've always flown from LA, so I never have done that from
Yeah.
Fresno.
Yeah, well, we'll fly from Fresno to LA or San
LA?
Francisco.
Yeah.
And then either connect Denver or Texas, and then, it's a journey. It's hard.
Yeah.
It's tough to get there.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
But that's sweet that they're there. So they're all kind of, some of your family's close still there, right?
Yes,
in
everyone's
Florida.
very close, and they're here all the time.
That's
So that
great.
is nice, yeah.
So what was it like moving to Fresno? I'm curious. As somebody you and Brody
Yeah.
aren't from here.
No.
You said knew one person.
Yes.
How was that?
This is
honestly?
this is the smallest town we've ever lived in, and
Yeah,
and
good
it's not
point.
even
I mean,
considered
yes.
a small town. Well, it is a small town, but not
Relatively
necessarily.
speaking, yeah.
Right, but when we moved here, the one friend that we knew was like, "Don't move here." She literally said, "Don't move here."
That's funny.
And she's born and raised. She's a true local.
Yeah.
She was just giving us like the harsh reality of really the worst parts of Fresno. She left out all the great parts.
Yeah, right.
But she knew that we're used to a big city. Brody's lived in LA as well. So like New York, LA, Miami, DC.
Yes.
Fresno, like don't come here.
Austin.
Which it makes sense.
Yeah.
Like but it worked out because it's a great place to raise a family. And it's been wonderful. Vandy loves it here. He says
so
Fresno
great.
is his favorite place.
So sweet.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't agree more. I think I have a little bit of a biased opinion on that because I
Right.
did grow up here. But I do feel like the upbringing here was so like just wholesome and simple and just really great.
Right. Well, we have access to everything that we
We have
need.
really great public schools. We have
Right.
really great resources for our kids. We have a lot of like extracurricular activities that are little to no cost. Like
Right.
there's a lot of really great opportunities, I feel,
really
no
is,
matter where you live and what school or path your child goes on. So that's so great.
Yes. And so it worked out. It was a little bit nerve-wracking for me to move to a small town.
Yeah, I
There's not a
bet.
professional sports team. What are we going to do?
Yeah.
Because we had season tickets with the Washington Nationals.
Oh my God, fun.
Brody used to cover professional
Sports,
sports. And
yes.
so we're like, there's not a professional sports team. What are we going to do?
Yes.
But thankfully, we were able to focus on our family, and it's been, that's our priority now. And so it's been wonderful.
So great.
Yes.
And you had Vandy before you moved here though,
Yes,
right?
he was 1.5 when we moved here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
See? And then you had Mello here. So that's kind of a special thing to like have this be the place where you build your family.
Yes,
right?
it really is.
That's sweet.
Yeah.
I love that.
I know. It's been wonderful. We've met so many great friends here, and I've met you here.
Yeah, I know.
It's been
Good-
great.
There's good peeps.
Yes. I've actually had my favorite job I've ever had here.
Really?
Yes. Working in a pediatric dental surgery center is,
Yes.
I mentioned earlier how I had burnout working in a private office. I'm working the most I've ever worked a week, and I love it.
Oh, that's
And
amazing.
I never feel like Sunday scaries or dread or
Yes.
and it's just the people are great.
Yeah.
I love my staff here in Fresno and in Atwater, where I also
Yes.
work.
Love it.
And working on patients where I can complete every single treatment that they need in one sitting is incredible.
Wow.
Because every patient is under general anesthesia, so completely asleep. So if they have 20 cavities, I'm fixing 20 teeth.
Wow.
It's so cool.
What's like, okay, so what'd you do this week? Talk to me about some of the procedures you did this week.
Okay, well, so cavities, like kids get
Yes.
kids, grown-ups, everyone gets cavities.
Yes.
It's a normal thing. A lot
Yeah.
of people are ashamed when they say, "Oh, I have 2 cavities." I'm like, that's not bad at all.
And you're like, also, you don't have to tell me that. I'll
I'm like,
know.
I'm like, that's great. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
The patients that are referred to me are the patients that need help with behavior. They can't sit still to get their work done while they're awake. And 2, they have a lot of needs, a lot of work that needs to be done.
Right.
And so I'm not
Makes
seeing
sense.
patients for a cleaning and a filling. I'm seeing patients that have 5 extractions, 5 root canals,
Yeah.
like this and that, and like spacers.
Yeah.
And so most of the treatment I do are, I don't know, over half the teeth need to be crowned with root canals. And so that's more normal for me, seeing a lot of work at
Yes.
once.
Yeah. And it makes sense when you put it that way. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's great for the patient because they don't have to come back and forth to the dental office multiple times
Right.
to do, 2 crowns one day to another, and you just get it done.
Yeah.
And with the medication, they don't remember.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're awake and you're having a traumatic experience, you remember every detail of that appointment.
Every detail.
Right.
Yeah. No, it's
And
true.
so it's great. It's a great service that we can provide, and it's really satisfying for the provider to be able to complete your treatment. Because a lot of times with patients that come in office, they'll come in for 1 or 2 quadrants. They'll do like the right side of the mouth, and then the next appointment isn't for another 6 months, or they cancel or they reschedule.
Right,
and
right.
you don't get a chance to finish everything.
Yeah.
And then things get worse, and then you have to change your treatment plan. Whereas this, you get to finish everything from 1 to 20, and that's really cool to me.
Right. That's
Yeah.
so cool. And it sounds like over the years, over the places that you've lived and the experiences that you've had, you've gotten to really kind of have a very wide range of experience.
Yes, yes.
And find like areas that fulfill you or that,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you probably don't want to do much of anymore.
Yes.
So what advice would you give to somebody that's getting into the dental field?
Right.
What would you tell them?
Well, I would encourage you that there's there are so many different avenues you can take. You don't have to do the bread and butter general dentistry where you go in and you do crowns and fillings and that's your day, which for some people that's what they flourish in. That's what my sister thrives off of doing. She loves it.
Wow.
I could not. And
Yeah.
and that's where my burnout came from. I felt like I was trying to like something that I didn't love. I liked
Right.
it, but I didn't love it.
Yeah.
And I guess the other piece of advice is to not be afraid to try something new, right? Because I wouldn't have been able to find this pediatric surgery center opportunity if I was afraid to work on patients, one, under general anesthesia, or
Right.
two, just fully immersing myself in the pediatric world.
Right.
So
It's so true.
Right. So getting out of your comfort zone, trying something new, and then and not feeling like you have to do the bread and butter stuff, which the bread and butter stuff is great. That's what most people need.
Right.
But if you feel like it's not right for you, then there are other opportunities.
Yeah, no, that's really great. What did you have any mentors along the way, or people that I'm sure, right?
My sister, number one mentor since I was little. I've always wanted to be exactly like her.
So sweet.
know,
I love
I know.
that.
But you know, my entire family, as soon as they graduated dental school, they opened up their own private practice.
Wow.
Like, that's the first thing they did. They've never worked for anyone. They just work for themselves. They run their own business. And everyone assumed I would do the same.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
Yeah.
And people still ask me, so when are you
shaking
opening?
things up. You're
Yeah,
traveling all over the world, and
I still get the question every time. Like, so when
Yeah.
are you opening up your own practice? I'm like, well, maybe I'll do that like later. But
Yeah.
I still haven't gotten to the point where I.
well, and you and Brody have a really great setup where you guys are very career driven and sort of opportunistic and paving your way, for both of your careers, which
Right.
is really great that you're able to do that.
Yeah.
You're both in the driver's seat doing it,
Yes.
which is fun.
Yes,
That's so great.
It is a lot of fun.
So, No Borders, how can people support the organization?
Well-
Are you looking for more people to support you on mission trips? Are you looking for finances? Both? Like, tell me the ways that people can support the amazing work that you're doing.
Well, thank you for asking that because we definitely need the support.
Yeah, I imagine, right?
Yes. Like I said, how I'm off a hiatus. This Thailand trip was my first trip since Vandy was 1. So that was 2019. So it's been a gap for me. My sister has still been running the show and doing trips without me. But now that I'm back and I'm like back in the driver's seat,
Yes.
heading up missions, our next one that we're planning, I'm hoping for it to be this December,
Oh, wow.
is to Vietnam and the Philippines.
Oh,
and it's going to be the biggest one yet if we can make the Philippines happen because it's a big full circle moment. When my family fled the Vietnam War, they went onto a boat in the middle of the night. They were, part of the boat people. And they ended up in the Philippines after they fled. And they lived on a refugee camp for 1 year on the island of Palawan is how you pronounce it, I believe. And my goal has been to set up a mission trip on that same island
wow,
to give
chills.
back
Amazing.
to the island that gave them so much.
I mean, talk about a full circle moment.
Right?
Wow.
Yes. My mom went there. My mom went back to the same island to try to find the same campsite last year. There's no trace of it. Part of it is now part of the airport, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, but they asked around with locals. There was one woman who was like, "Oh, I remember where that refugee camp was," and walked them over
Wow.
there. And so now we're planning our next trip there.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Wow. And you're hoping for that in December?
Yes,
Donations.
So
I
donations,
imagine, right?
yes. We have our website, ngoborders.org. Where
NGO, right?
NGO Borders.
Yep.
We have a donation link there, and as well as a materials donation link.
Okay.
So for if you work in the dental field, gloves, masks, gauze, or even local anesthetic, like with a lidocaine carpules. We have our own instruments already that we bring with us on most trips, but it's the disposables
Yeah.
that we could always use donations for. Toothbrushes, toothpaste. And my sister, who's the attorney, she
That's
joins
convenient.
she joins our trips, but she heads up the clothing donation. She gets donations from her clients, from her friends. She brings boxes and boxes of clothes to wherever we travel to, and she sets up a station. And when the patient is done getting their tooth extracted, for example, they go over to her and she holds up a shirt, and she's like, "Yeah, this fits you. You take this." and she just gives out clothes. So they
Amazing.
So it's
Family
a lot
affair.
of fun. Yes. Oh, it's a total family affair. We bring in the nieces and nephews. They play with kids in the waiting area.
And what an amazing experience for your kids, for your
yes.
nieces, for your nephews. Like,
Yes.
wow.
Yes. Now my niece, her name is Selene. She's been on all of our trips with us. I think she's done the most. She's now in medical school. And she's just going to continue the tradition. It's great.
That's amazing. So do you ever bring, like your first trip, you were a student. Do you ever bring students with you?
We haven't yet, but I'm open to it.
Yeah.
And we've actually worked with students at the destination. So in Haiti,
Good call.
We
That's
had
amazing.
Haitian dental students helping us out.
Yeah.
Every trip is a little different, but we've worked
That's
with
smart. That works. You know, kind of give the locals the experience that they wouldn't have otherwise, which is amazing.
And I've kept in touch with a few of them too. It's really great.
That's so great.
You know, it's fun.
Gosh, you're such an inspiration. You're doing such amazing work and you make it look so easy. It's just, we're lucky to have you here.
Thank you so much.
For the time that we've got you, we'll make the most of it,
thank
Mel.
you.
And Brody, you guys are doing great work here and it's just awesome.
Thank you so
Here
much.
and all over the world. Wow.
Well,
So,
it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love your just positivity and openness to new challenges and new things and serving people. You have such a giving heart. It's so amazing.
Thank you so much.
Of course. I'm so honored to share your story here on this platform. And you mentioned website, ngoborders.org.
Yes.
Okay. And your Instagram, for the longest time, we were joking. I'm like, hey, Melly Poo.
Yes, that's my nickname.
Your nickname.
I've had that
You
nickname.
go by Mel. Melissa's your full name, but I love it, Melly Poo. I
Melly
mean, you're
Poo.
so yeah.
And it's 3 L's.
Yes,
And it's
I
actually
noticed
the
there were
funniest-
extra.
It's so funny. It's a funny story because in the 7th grade,
Yeah.
with AOL Instant Messenger.
Oh my God, yes.
that was my
That
screen
was
name.
your screen name? No
Yes.
numbers?
Well, because I tried for Melly Poo with 2 L's and
Yeah.
it was taken. So I was like, let me add a 3rd L. And then it worked. And that's been my screen name for every single platform
I
since.
love it so much.
Yes.
I love it so much. And it's just your nickname, like family,
Yeah,
friends
someone
gave it
called
to you?
me Melly Poo, and I was like, oh, that'd be a good
That's
screen
cute.
name. And so it's stuck. It's been my email, my screen name, my this, that, everything. So
Oh my gosh,
you
I
can
love
call me
it.
Melly Poo. That's totally
Melly
fine.
Poo. So I know you're on Instagram. Are you on anything else, like
On
TikTok?
TikTok, yes,
Okay,
I
you
do.
go, girl.
I mean, TikTok is hard. It's, when you're so busy with one platform, it's hard to like,
Yes,
juggle all these. But
it is a
TikTok,
lot, but amazing.
Yeah, and then Facebook and Instagram, and I even did like Lemonade. Did you ever try that one?
Yeah. Oh yeah, we've tried them all.
Lemonade.
Yeah.
and LTK, name
Yeah.
you name them. I'll try
You name them, you're
Yeah.
trying it. You're up for a new challenge. I love it.
Yes, I am.
Well, thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me and letting me share.
Of course. Cheers, friends. Thanks for listening. Feel free to rate and review this episode here and connect with us on Instagram if you have any thoughts, questions, or any guest suggestions. Thanks.